This is Rhonda Brooks of Farm Journal Media, and I'm at the National Farm Machinery Show with Bob Utterback. And Bob, you were presenting to a packed house today about the economics of farming and what the outlook is in the months ahead. And one of the things that was interesting to me was you got into talking about operations and what farmers might want to consider doing over the next 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, one of the issues that everybody's talking about is growth and how fast to grow, but I think it gets more basic into managing growth is, one of the concerns is the monetary theory is causing some real surges in money supply that I see hyperinflation become a problem as you get further in the future. And this means there's going to be a lot of pressure on inputs. And inputs from standpoint of both price and also on getting inputs in position when you need it. I'm very concerned.
And when you say in position when you need it?
So when we need our fuel prices, I would say I would want to be buying fuel prices immediately because of the Israel-Iran conflict could occur. You could see a good solid surge in prices this spring. So I think it would behoove you to get your fuel prices done immediately. But I'd go even one step further than that. I think operationally on fuel prices, I think it would be very prudent to start thinking about having enough supply on your farm that you could have a whole season's fuel needs bought at one time. In other words, having big bulk storage on farm, so on the dips you can buy it and have it in possession. More and more you're going to want to have control of your inputs ahead of schedule, because as we go down this path, if we continue to have this deficit problem multiply, which I think we'll have, eventually the day is going to have when the creditors are not going to want to so easily buy our deficit, and this is going to force some government transition in a draconian type way to cut spending, and that will cause, I think, wage and basically political distress. You could have disruptions in transportation, now the bottlenecks, a lot of strikes, and that implies that if you say you want to have in the barge freight is stored at the wrong time, you might not get your anhydrous ammonia and your fertilizer in position for spring planting. Might not be able to ship your corn out when you want in the fall time period. And so these outside disruptions, where you might not be able to get your truck tires immediately, say you always were used to hand-to-mouth buying strategies, you might, with truck prices going up and tire prices going up, you might really want to start thinking about stockpiling basic essential things that you're going to buy every year, but rather than the agribusiness stockpiling for it, they're not going to stockpile it because the cost of holding it's going to be too high. You need to be holding those inventories in hand so that you can maintain the continuity of your operation. When you need to move in the spring and you need to move in the fall, you don't want these abstractions affecting your operational flow.
How far do you go though, Bob?
Well, each individual is going to have to address those issues. In the problem of the petroleum is how much security and quality control is going to become. Having bulk storage so you can have your fertilizer in control, because as in the fertilizer and transportation bottleneck, I would try to have my fertilizer in control as soon as I can before, so I don't have to have right on point delivery. Having enough storage on farm to store my anhydrous ammonia on farm. These are directions that I think I would be working on for operational efficiency, so it is not impaired by outside forces that I control. I can control that. I can't control a dock strike. I can't affect those other issues, but I can control those variables. Now it's going to increase my operational cost a little.
Yeah.
And that's a negative, but also it reduces my fear and gives me more confidence to act, which is, I think, a very positive.
Yeah, that is a really good positive. And along with those lines, because it kind of raises the panic in my throat, I think, okay, maybe it costs me more right now, but if I can't get fuel, the cost of that could be worse than in the future than it is right now.
Right. Another thing is for confinement hog operations, anybody that uses a lot of electricity, I think you've really got a rude awakening coming out here in the next 3 to 5 years as EPA restrictions that will continue to reduce energy output demand, but energy demand increases. There's going to be a big price surge, I think, in energy demand. So a farmer, now the efficiencies of having on-farm power generation could become more effective, looking into how can I generate electricity for running my farm unit could be now more of an economic feasibility than every time we've had in the past. These are things, and with the tax codes going to increase taxes, I think taxes are going to go nothing but up as we look in the future. They're going to be forced to. It's going to become more advantageous to. Now the question, will we get the deductions? But that was something. But I think those are self-security to provide more of the resources for myself, taking control of the variables that I control. I think is the guiding theme, because the market is going, as Europe has its anxieties. I think China's got anxieties coming out there in 04-15, and our economy's got anxieties. I think there's a lot of macro fundamentals that are going to cause some real anxiety in this market in 013-14, which will be manifested to resolve it. We'll have to stimulate the money supply, and the money supply will lead to, I fear, a hyperinflationary environment that farmers have not really had to deal with. It had a little taste in the 70s, but it would be, I think, excessively higher than anything we've ever seen in the United States.
Wow. So the bottom line is figure out what you're going to need to operate efficiently in the next couple of years, prioritize, and then act upon those things.
That's exactly right.
All right.
And have a plan for what you're going to do, and have the process. And don't control your fear. Don't let the fear control you. Having a plan, a process of how you're going to basically, maybe have a little more higher cost short term, but long term, I think you'll be much, much more comfortable.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
My pleasure.